in the quiet village at the edge of the world, where the sun barely touches the horizon and the air carries whispers of forgotten ages, there stands a tower unlike any other. Its stones, blackened by time, seem to breathe with a rhythm all their own, and its gates, sealed for centuries, have long been a warning to those who dare to dream too boldly. But Kael, a scholar with an insatiable hunger for the unknown, has never been one to heed warnings. Tonight, as the moon hangs low and the stars seem to dim, he stands before the Eldritch Tower, its gates creaking open as if by some unseen force. With a heartbeat that echoes the tower's eerie hum, he steps inside, unaware that this single decision will unravel not just the secrets of time, but the very fabric of his own existence. The air grows thick, the walls seem to close in, and as the gates slam shut behind him, Kael realizes he has entered a realm where the rules of reality no longer apply. What awaits him is a journey beyond time, a test of courage, intellect, and perhaps even his humanity. And as the tower's ancient power begins to stir, one question lingers in the air: will Kael uncover the truth, or will he become just another lost soul in the tower's endless labyrinth? The moment Kael steps into the tower, the air shifts, a heavy, almost electric tension pressing against his skin. The corridors stretch endlessly before him, their walls etched with carvings that defy comprehension. At first glance, they appear static, but as he moves closer, the figures seem to twist and writhe, their forms shifting like shadows caught in flickering candlelight. It's as if the very stone is alive, whispering secrets meant only for those who dare to listen. Each step forward feels like a descent into a world where logic unravels, and reality bends to the will of something far older than he can fathom. Then, out of the darkness, a figure materializes, a spectral guardian, its form shimmering like mist caught in moonlight. Its voice echoes with a hollow resonance, as though speaking from a great distance. Turn back, it warns, for the path ahead is not meant for the living. Time here is not your ally. It flows as it pleases, and those who wander these halls risk losing themselves forever. The words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of truth, but Kael's curiosity burns brighter than any fear. He has spent his life chasing the unknown, and the promise of answers is too tantalizing to ignore. With a resolve that surprises even himself, Kael chooses to press on. As he takes another step, a low rumble shakes the floor beneath his feet. Behind him, the entrance seals shut with a thunderous crash, the sound reverberating through the corridors like a death knell. There's no turning back now. The tower has chosen its course for him, and with every passing moment, the mysteries deepen. The air grows colder, the shadows thicker, and the carvings on the walls seem to pulse with an eerie light. Somewhere ahead, the tower's heart awaits, and with it, the answers Kael so desperately seeks, or perhaps the price he must pay for daring to uncover them. The corridor narrows as Kael ventures deeper, his footsteps echoing against the ancient stones. The air grows heavier, thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like the tang of old iron. Ahead, a faint glow emanates from an arched doorway, drawing him forward like a moth to a flame. As he crosses the threshold, he finds himself in a chamber unlike anything he's ever seen. The walls are lined with shelves, each one crammed with artifacts that seem to hum faintly, as if alive with some unseen energy. Strange tools, scrolls written in languages long forgotten, and objects that defy description fill the room, each one radiating an aura of timeless power. At the center of the chamber rests a peculiar device, a clockwork contraption of intricate gears and spinning dials. Its surface etched with symbols that seem to shift and change as he watches. The device pulses faintly, its rhythm matching the low vibrations that course through the tower itself. Kael steps closer, drawn by an irresistible pull. His fingers brush against the cold metal, and as he does, the device emits a sharp, resonant hum. Before he can react, the gears begin to spin faster, the dials whirring in a chaotic dance. A blinding light erupts from the device, and the air around him crackles with energy. When the light fades, Kael finds himself standing in the same chamber, but it's no longer the same. The walls, once barren and cold, are now covered in thick vines and moss, their surfaces alive with the vibrant greens of a jungle. Sunlight streams through cracks in the ceiling, illuminating a room teeming with life. Birds flutter in the shadows, their songs mingling with the rustle of leaves. The artifacts on the shelves are no longer dusty relics, but gleaming treasures, their surfaces untouched by time. The chamber feels alive, a stark contrast to the oppressive stillness he'd left behind. As Kael takes in the transformation, a chilling realization dawns on him. The clockwork device wasn't just a tool, it was a key, a mechanism capable of bending time itself. The tower's power over time isn't just a legend, it's a force far beyond his understanding. And now, with a single touch, he's unleashed it. The stakes rise as he considers the implications. What if his actions have altered the course of history? What if the tower's labyrinthine corridors now stretch across not just space, but time itself? The weight of responsibility settles on his shoulders, heavier than the stones around him. He knows he must tread carefully, for every step he takes in this strange, living version of the tower could unravel the very fabric of reality. As Kael steps further into the transformed chamber, the sound of rustling leaves and distant bird calls fills the air, but it's not long before another sound breaks through. A whisper, faint and fragmented, like wind carrying voices from another world. He turns, and there, huddled in a shadowed corner, he sees them. A group of figures, their faces weathered by years of uncertainty, their eyes hollow yet sharp with a strange, lingering awareness. They're explorers, but not as Kael knows them. Their clothing is tattered, their gear outdated, as though plucked from another era. One steps forward, his voice trembling but clear. "You've come at last," he says, his tone a mix of relief and despair. "We've waited so long for someone like you." The leader, a woman named Lyra, explains their story. Decades ago, they entered the tower much like Cael, drawn by curiosity and the promise of discovery. But the tower had other plans. Time here doesn't flow in a straight line. It loops, twists, and folds in on itself. Days blend into years, and memories fracture under the weight of endless repetition. Their minds, once sharp and focused, have been worn thin by the constant shifts, leaving them trapped in a labyrinth of their own making. This place doesn't just manipulate time, Lyra says, her voice low and urgent. It feeds on fear. There's something here, something ancient and malevolent, that thrives on our confusion. It twists reality, turning our thoughts against us. Kael listens intently, his mind racing. These explorers are living proof of the tower's dangers, but their warning carries a deeper truth. The malevolent force they speak of, could it be the source of the tower's power? And if so, how can he hope to confront it alone? The decision weighs heavily on him. Trusting strangers in such a place is a risk, but going forward by himself seems even more perilous. After a moment of contemplation, he nods. "We'll do this together," he says. "But if we're going to survive, I need to know everything you've learned." The group shares what little they've pieced together over the years. The tower's apex, they believe, is the key. It's where the source of its power resides, a nexus of energy that binds time and space together. Reaching it might be the only way to escape, or to stop the malevolent force that holds them all captive. But the path to the apex is treacherous, filled with traps and illusions designed to prey on their deepest fears. Every step forward will test you, one of the explorers warns. The tower knows your weaknesses. It will use them against you. With their guidance, Kael begins to understand the true nature of the challenge ahead. The tower isn't just a physical structure. It's a living, breathing entity. Its power fueled by the emotions of those who enter. Fear, doubt, confusion. These are its weapons, and they've brought countless others to their knees. But Kael also senses something else, a glimmer of hope. These explorers, though broken, have endured. Their survival is proof that the tower's power isn't absolute. If they can resist its influence, perhaps he can too. As they prepare to move forward, Kael feels a strange sense of camaraderie. These explorers, once strangers, now feel like allies in a battle against an unseen foe. Together, they set their sights on the apex, knowing that the journey will demand not just strength, but unity. The tower may be a place of chaos, but within its walls, Kael finds something unexpected, a flicker of connection, a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, humanity's greatest strength lies in its ability to endure. And as they take their first steps toward the apex, one question lingers. Will their combined resolve be enough to conquer the tower, or will they too become lost in its endless maze? The group moves deeper into the tower, the air growing denser with each step. The walls around them seem to ripple, as if the very structure of the place is bending under the weight of time. Strange echoes fill the corridors, voices that sound familiar, yet distant, fragments of conversations that Kael can't quite place. It's not long before the anomalies begin. One moment, the path ahead is clear. The next, it twists into a labyrinth of shifting walls and vanishing doorways. Time itself feels unstable, like a river flowing in every direction at once. Kael stumbles, his vision blurring as images flash before his eyes, visions of his own life, but not as he remembers them. He sees himself as a child, standing at the edge of a forest, watching a house burn in the distance. Then, just as quickly, he's older, standing in a room filled with books, his hands trembling as he reads a letter that changes everything. The flashes come faster now, fragments of a future he can't comprehend. A man alone, surrounded by shadows, his voice hoarse with regret. Each vision feels real, as though he's living it in that moment, and the weight of them leaves him breathless. The others notice his distress. Lyra, a woman with piercing green eyes, and a voice that carries the weight of countless struggles places a hand on his shoulder. Her touch is grounding, pulling him back to the present. "The tower shows us what we fear most," she says, her tone steady but tinged with sorrow. "It feeds on our doubts, our regrets. If you let it, it will consume you." Kael meets her gaze, and for the first time, he sees the depth of pain in her expression. Lyra hesitates, then speaks of her own past. Years ago, she had tried to destroy the tower, convinced it was a blight on the world. Armed with knowledge and determination, she had entered its depths, only to fail. The tower had twisted her efforts, and in the chaos, she had lost everything: her family, her purpose, even her sense of self. "I thought I could save them," she says, her voice breaking. But the tower doesn't let go of what it claims. It takes until there's nothing left. Her words strike a chord in Cael, forcing him to confront the cost of his own quest. What if his pursuit of knowledge leads to destruction? What if, in seeking the truth, he loses the very things that give his life meaning? The doubts swirl in his mind, threatening to overwhelm him. But then he remembers the faces of those he's left behind, the people who believe in him, who have supported his work, who have given him the courage to chase the unknown. With a deep breath, Cael steels himself. "We can't let fear stop us," he says, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. "The tower thrives on it, but it's not invincible. If we work together, if we stay focused, we can find a way to break its hold." Lyra studies him for a moment, a flicker of hope in her eyes. The others nod, their resolve strengthening as they prepare to press forward. The path ahead is uncertain, the dangers more profound than any of them could have imagined. But for the first time, Cael feels a sense of clarity. The tower may test him, but it won't define him. Each step forward is a choice, a decision to face the unknown, not as a victim of fear, but as a seeker of truth. And as the group ventures deeper into the ever-shifting labyrinth, Cael knows that whatever lies ahead, he won't face it alone. The corridor narrows abruptly, the walls closing in until the group emerges into a vast, cavernous chamber that defies all sense of scale. Here, the air shimmers like heat rising from desert sands, and the ground beneath their feet feels unstable, as though it might dissolve at any moment. The chamber is alive with fractured light, beams of color splitting and merging in chaotic patterns. Time itself seems to splinter, each fragment revealing a different version of the tower, some bathed in golden light, others cloaked in shadow. The group exchanges uneasy glances, their breaths shallow, their movements cautious. This is no ordinary room. It's a crossroads of realities, a place where time fractures and overlaps, each shard a window into what might have been, or what could still be. Cael steps forward, his boots sinking slightly into the shifting ground. Around him, the air hums with energy, and he feels a strange pull, as though the chamber is calling to him. A flicker of movement catches his eye, a figure standing in the distance, their silhouette eerily familiar. As he moves closer, the figure turns, and Cael freezes. It's him, or rather, a version of him. This Cael stands tall, his posture commanding, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The tower's power radiates from him, but it's not the awe-inspiring energy Cael had imagined. Instead, it feels oppressive, a force that bends the world to its will. This version of himself, wears a crown of twisting metal, its jagged edges piercing his temples, and in his hand, he holds a staff that pulses with a dark, malevolent light. The other Kael speaks, his voice cold and devoid of warmth. "You think you can control it," he says, his tone dripping with disdain. "You think you're different. But the tower doesn't care about your intentions. It only cares about power, and power corrupts." The words hit Kael like a physical blow, each one chipping away at his resolve. He watches as this version of himself raises the staff, the air around him warping as the tower's power surges. The ground cracks, the walls tremble, and the chamber echoes with the cries of those who dared to defy him. It's a vision of triumph, but also of loss, a future where Kael's quest for knowledge has turned him into something unrecognizable. The vision fades, leaving Kael shaken, his breath coming in sharp gasps. The others gather around him, their faces etched with concern, but he can barely hear their voices over the roaring in his mind. The weight of what he's seen settles heavily on his shoulders. Could this really be his fate? Is the pursuit of the tower's secrets worth the risk of becoming a tyrant, of losing himself entirely? The questions gnaw at him, each one more unsettling than the last. Lyra steps forward, her voice cutting through the chaos. "What did you see?" she asks, her tone gentle but insistent. Kael hesitates, then describes the vision, his words halting as he struggles to make sense of it all. Lyra listens intently, her expression thoughtful. "The tower shows us our fears," she says, "but also our potential. It's not just a warning, it's a choice. You saw what could happen if you let the power consume you, but it doesn't have to be that way." Her words offer a glimmer of hope, but Kael knows the path ahead is fraught with peril. The chamber's fractured realities are a reminder of how fragile time is, how easily it can be twisted and reshaped. Each step forward carries the risk of becoming lost, not just in the tower's labyrinth, but in the darker corners of his own soul. Yet, as he looks at the others, their faces filled with determination despite their own fears, he feels a spark of resolve reignite. The tower may test him, but it doesn't define him. The choices he makes here and now will shape his destiny. With a deep breath, Kael steps forward, the fractured realities swirling around him like a storm. Each fragment offers a glimpse of what might be, but he knows he can't afford to dwell on them. The chamber is a test, one that demands clarity and focus. As the group moves deeper into the shifting maze of light and shadow, Kael's mind races with newfound determination. The vision was a warning, but it was also a reminder that the greatest power lies not in controlling time, but in mastering oneself. And as they press on, the question lingers: will Kael rise above the tower's temptations, or will he succumb to the very darkness he seeks to understand? The group presses forward, their footsteps echoing softly in the oppressive silence of the tower's corridors. The air grows colder, the shadows denser, and with each step, the sense of being watched intensifies. Suddenly, the stillness shatters. From the walls, the floor, even the very air, shadowy figures emerge, twisting, writhing shapes that seem to materialize from the darkness itself. Their forms are indistinct, shifting like smoke, but their eyes burn with a cold, predatory light. The entities move with unnatural speed, surrounding the group in an instant. Kael feels a wave of dread wash over him, his breath catching as the creatures close in. These aren't mere illusions, they're something far more insidious. Lyra's voice cuts through the chaos, sharp and urgent. Don't let them touch you, they feed on fear, on doubt. The more you resist, the stronger they become. Her warning comes too late for one of the explorers, who stumbles as a shadowy tendril brushes his arm. His face contorts in terror, his body rigid as the entity drains him, leaving him hollow and lifeless. The group recoils, their panic mounting as the creatures close in. Kael's mind races, his instincts screaming for him to run, but he knows retreat isn't an option. The tower is testing them, and failure means more than death. It means becoming part of its endless cycle of suffering. Drawing on his knowledge of the tower's mechanisms, Kael begins to piece together a plan. The entities are drawn to fear, but they are also bound by the tower's rules. If they can manipulate those rules, they might stand a chance. We need to create a diversion, he says, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Something that channels their energy away from us, but it'll require a sacrifice, someone to act as the focus. The words hang in the air, heavy with implication. The group exchanges uneasy glances, the weight of the decision pressing down on them. Lyra steps forward without hesitation, her expression resolute. "I'll do it," she says, her voice firm. Kael starts to protest, but she cuts him off. "You're the only one who understands how this place works. If we're going to make it out of here, we need you. I've already lost everything to this tower. Let my sacrifice mean something." Her words are quiet, but carry an unshakable conviction. Kael feels a pang of guilt, a flood of questions he can't voice. Is this the only way? Could he have found another solution if he'd had more time? But time is the one thing they don't have. The plan unfolds quickly, each step a desperate gamble. Lyra positions herself at the center of the chamber, her hands gripping a strange, crystalline artifact Kael had retrieved from the earlier room. The artifact hums faintly, its light growing brighter as the shadowy entities converge on her. Kael and the others retreat to the edges of the room, their hearts pounding as they watch the scene unfold. Lyra closes her eyes, her face calm despite the chaos around her. The entities swarm her, their forms twisting and writhing as they feed on her fear, her memories, her very essence. But the artifact begins to pulse, its light intensifying until it becomes blinding. With a deafening crack, the energy explodes outward, scattering the creatures into nothingness. When the light fades, Lyra is gone. The chamber is eerily silent, the air heavy with the weight of her sacrifice. Kael stares at the spot where she stood, his mind reeling. He feels a mix of grief and guilt, but also a newfound determination. Lyra's choice wasn't just an act of bravery, it was a reminder of what's at stake. The tower thrives on despair, but it can't take everything. Not if they fight back. The group moves forward, their steps slower now, their silence a tribute to Lyra's courage. Kael feels the burden of leadership settle heavily on his shoulders. Every decision, every step, carries consequences, and the weight of those choices is almost too much to bear. But he knows he can't falter. The tower's malevolent force is growing stronger, its influence seeping into their thoughts, their fears. If they're going to survive, they'll need to rely on each other more than ever. And as they press on, Kael can't shake the feeling that the hardest challenges are still to come. The tower may have taken Lyra, but her sacrifice has given them a fragile, fleeting chance to turn the tide. And Kael is determined to make it count. The corridor opens into an immense chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows so deep they seem to stretch into infinity. At its center looms a colossal clockwork mechanism, its gears and cogs rotating with a rhythmic precision that resonates through the air like the heartbeat of some ancient, living thing. The device is unlike anything Kael has ever seen, its design both intricate and alien, a fusion of artistry and engineering that defies comprehension. Each gear glows faintly, pulsing with an otherworldly light, while the air around it shimmers with a strange, almost magnetic energy. This, Kael realizes, is the heart of the tower, the source of its power over time itself. The explorers gather around the mechanism, their faces a mixture of awe and apprehension. One of them, a man named Eamon, steps forward, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and fascination. "This is it," he says, his eyes wide as he studies the towering structure. "This is what controls the flow of time. If we tamper with it, we could undo everything, or make it worse." His words hang in the air, heavy with implication. The group knows the stakes are higher than ever. To interfere with the mechanism is to risk unraveling the very fabric of reality, but to leave it untouched is to remain trapped in the tower's endless labyrinth. Kael approaches the mechanism cautiously, his mind racing. The decision before him is monumental. Destroying the device could free them all, collapsing the tower and its malevolent influence. But it could also unleash chaos, shattering the delicate balance of time and space. Alternatively, he could attempt to stabilize it, to harness its power and restore order. The latter option is tempting, a chance to control the tower's immense energy, to bend time to his will, but he knows the risks. The tower's power is corrupting, and those who seek to wield it often become its prisoners. The vision of his darker self, crowned and twisted by the tower's influence, flashes through his mind, a stark reminder of what could happen if he loses himself to its allure. For a moment, Kael hesitates, his hand hovering above a glowing dial. The weight of the choice presses down on him like a physical force. He thinks of Lyra, of her sacrifice, of the countless others who have been consumed by the tower's relentless hunger. He can't let their suffering be in vain. With a deep breath, he makes his decision. "We stabilize it," he says, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. "We can't risk destroying it, not without knowing the consequences, but we can't let it control us either. We have to find a way to balance its power." The group moves quickly, their movements guided by Kael's instructions. Each step is precise, each adjustment carefully calculated. But as Kael turns a key mechanism, a sudden, deafening groan echoes through the chamber. The gears grind to a halt, their rhythmic motion stuttering before lurching back to life with a violent shudder. The air crackles with energy, and the walls around them begin to shift, the stone rippling like water. The tower, once a place of oppressive stillness, now feels alive, a chaotic, uncontrollable force. Kael realizes too late that his attempt to stabilize the mechanism has triggered a chain reaction. The tower, built on the fragile balance of time, is unraveling. The air grows thick with static, and the ground beneath their feet trembles violently. The explorers scramble to maintain their footing, their voices rising in panic as the chamber begins to collapse around them. Kael's mind races, his thoughts a whirlwind of regret and desperation. He had hoped to bring order, but instead, he's unleashed chaos. The tower's power, once contained, now surges unchecked, its influence spreading like wildfire. As the walls crumble and the air fills with the roar of collapsing stone, Kael knows there's no turning back. The tower is no longer a maze. It's a storm, a tempest of time and space that threatens to consume everything in its path. The question now is not whether they can control it, but whether they can survive it. And as the chaos intensifies, Kael can't help but wonder if this was the tower's plan all along, to lure them into its heart, only to destroy them when they dare to challenge its power. The ground beneath Kael's feet splits open with a thunderous roar, jagged cracks racing across the stone like veins of lightning. The air shudders, thick with the acrid scent of burning metal and crumbling rock. Above, the ceiling fractures, chunks of stone crashing down in a chaotic cascade. The tower is collapsing, its once stable structure now unraveling under the strain of its own unraveling power. Time itself seems to twist and snap, the air shimmering with distorted echoes of past and future. Kael stumbles, his breath ragged, as the walls around him contort and fold, the corridors warping into impossible shapes. The others scramble to keep up, their faces etched with panic as the tower's disintegration accelerates. Upward, Kael shouts, his voice barely audible over the deafening roar of collapsing stone. We have to keep moving. The group surges forward, their steps frantic as they race against the crumbling reality around them. Each corridor they pass through seems to dissolve moments after they leave it, the floor giving way to yawning voids that pulse with an eerie, otherworldly light. The air grows colder, the shadows deeper, and the sense of being chased by an unstoppable force is overwhelming. But even as they flee, Kael can't shake the feeling that the tower isn't just collapsing, it's fighting back, desperate to trap them within its unraveling labyrinth. Just as they reach a spiraling staircase, the air ahead shimmers and a figure materializes. It's the Spectral Guardian, its form flickering like a dying flame. Its hollow voice cuts through the chaos, calm yet urgent. "Turn back, Kael," it says, its tone heavy with warning. The path ahead leads only to destruction. "I can guide you out, but if you leave now, the tower's secrets will be lost to you forever." The words hang in the air, a lifeline offered in the midst of chaos. For a moment, Kael hesitates, his mind racing. The offer is tempting, a chance to escape the madness, to return to the world he knows. But his gaze falls to the others, their faces filled with fear and determination, and he knows he can't abandon them. "Not now, I'm not leaving," Kael says, his voice steady despite the turmoil around him. "Not without answers, not without finishing this." The Guardian's form flickers, its expression unreadable, but it doesn't argue. Instead, it steps aside, its spectral hand gesturing toward the staircase. "Then your fate is your own," it says, its voice fading as its form dissolves into the air. The group doesn't waste a moment, surging upward as the staircase begins to crumble beneath their feet. Each step feels like a leap of faith, the ground disintegrating faster than they can climb. But Kael's resolve remains unshaken, his determination a beacon in the chaos. As they ascend, the air grows heavier, the walls around them pulsing with a strange, rhythmic light. Kael can feel the tower's power growing stronger, its energy crackling against his skin like static. The others falter, their steps slowing as the weight of the tower's influence presses down on them. One of the explorers, a man named Taran, stumbles, his face pale and his breath shallow. "I can't keep going," he gasps, his voice barely a whisper. Kael grabs his arm, pulling him forward with a strength he didn't know he had. "You can't stop now," he says, his tone fierce. "We're too close. We've come too far to give up." The words seem to reignite a spark in Taran, and he nods, his steps steadying as they press on. But the climb grows more treacherous with each passing moment. The staircase twists and shifts, its steps warping into jagged, uneven shapes. The air is thick with the sound of grinding stone and the distant, haunting echoes of voices that seem to call from another world. Kael's mind races, his thoughts a whirlwind of fear and determination. He knows the risks, knows that every step forward could be his last. But the thought of turning back, of leaving the tower's secrets buried in its collapsing ruins, is unthinkable. He's come too far, sacrificed too much, to walk away now. At last, they reach the top of the staircase, emerging into a vast, circular chamber bathed in a soft, golden light. The air here is still, the chaos of the collapsing tower, muted as though held at bay by some unseen force. At the center of the chamber stands a massive, crystalline structure, its surface shimmering with an ethereal glow. It's the heart of the tower, the source of its power, and the key to understanding its mysteries. Kael steps forward, his breath catching as he approaches the structure. He can feel its energy, a low, resonant hum that seems to echo in his very soul. This is it, the moment he's been searching for. But as he reaches out, the air around him shifts, and the chamber begins to tremble. The tower's collapse is catching up to them, its disintegration creeping ever closer. Kael knows he has only moments to act. The choice before him is clear. Risk everything to unlock the tower's secrets, or flee and leave them buried forever. His heart pounds, his mind a storm of doubt and resolve. But as he looks at the others, their faces filled with trust and determination, he knows there's only one choice. With a steadying breath, he places his hand on the crystalline structure, its surface warm beneath his touch. The chamber erupts in light, and for a moment, everything falls silent. The tower's secrets are within his grasp, but at what cost? The chamber pulses with a low, resonant hum, the crystalline structure at its center glowing brighter with every passing moment. Kael's hand remains on its surface, the warmth seeping into his skin like a living current. The air around him feels charged, heavy with a tension that threatens to snap. As the light intensifies, a figure begins to materialize before him, a shadowy silhouette that shifts and solidifies until it takes on a familiar form. It's him, but not the Cael he knows. This version is darker, his eyes burning with a cold, calculating fire. His features are sharp, almost predatory, and his voice, when it comes, is a chilling echo of his own. "You've come far," the entity says, its tone dripping with mockery. "But you've only reached the beginning." Kael steps back, his heart pounding. The figure mirrors his every movement, a perfect imitation twisted by malice. "What are you?" Kael demands, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. The entity smiles, a cruel, knowing expression. "I am the tower's will," it replies, its voice reverberating through the chamber. "I am the reflection of your deepest fears, your darkest desires, and I am the key to the power you seek." It spreads its arms, the air around it shimmering with the weight of its words. "All you have to do is accept me, accept the tower's gift, and time itself will bow to your command." The offer hangs in the air, a tantalizing promise of ultimate power. Kael's mind races, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He thinks of all he could achieve, of the knowledge he could uncover, the mysteries he could solve. But then he remembers the vision of his darker self, crowned and corrupted by the tower's influence. He thinks of Lyra, of her sacrifice, of the countless others who have been consumed by this place. "The price of the tower's power is too high. I won't become you," Kael says, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. "I won't let this place take me." The entity's smile falters, its expression twisting into one of disdain. "You think you're stronger than the tower," it sneers. "You think you can resist its pull. You're nothing but a fool, chasing shadows in the dark." It steps closer, its presence suffocating. "Accept me, and you'll wield power beyond imagination. Reject me, and you'll be destroyed along with this place. The choice is yours." Kael's gaze shifts to the crystalline structure, its light now blinding. He knows what he has to do. The tower's power is too dangerous, too corrupting. It can't be controlled. It can only be destroyed. With a deep breath, he turns back to the entity, his resolve hardening. "I choose neither," he says, his voice ringing with conviction. "I choose to end this." The entity's form wavers, its expression twisting in rage. "You'll regret this," it snarls, its voice rising to a deafening roar. But Kael doesn't flinch. He turns to the others, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. "We need to destroy this," he says, gesturing to the crystalline structure. "It's the only way to stop the tower." The group nods, their resolve matching his own. Together, they begin to dismantle the mechanism, their movements frantic as the chamber around them begins to collapse. The air grows hotter, the walls shaking violently as the tower's power begins to unravel. The entity's form flickers, its voice a distant echo as it fades into the chaos. Kael's hands move quickly, his mind focused on the task at hand. He knows the risks, knows that destroying the tower's heart could mean his own end, but he also knows it's the only way to ensure the tower's influence is stopped for good. As the final piece of the mechanism falls away, the chamber erupts in a blinding light. The air crackles with energy, the walls around them dissolving into shimmering fragments. Kael feels a surge of heat, a wave of power that threatens to overwhelm him, but through the chaos, he feels a strange sense of peace. He's done what he came to do. The tower's secrets may be lost, but its hold on the world is broken. The light fades, the chamber crumbling into nothingness. Kael and the others are thrown into a swirling void, the air around them filled with the echoes of the tower's final moments. And as the darkness closes in, Kael can't help but wonder, what lies beyond the tower? What world awaits them on the other side of this chaos? The answers, if they exist, are out of reach for now. But as the void consumes them, Kael holds on to one certainty. He chose the right path, and in the end, that's what matters. The moment the crystalline structure shatters, the tower convulses with a deafening roar, its ancient stones trembling as though the very fabric of its existence is unraveling. The air fractures, splitting into jagged shards of light and shadow, and Kael feels the ground beneath him dissolve into nothingness. The chamber, once a bastion of eerie stillness, is now a maelstrom of chaos. Time itself seems to splinter, the walls around them collapsing into fragments that drift like dust in the wind. Kael and the remaining explorers are swept into a swirling vortex, their bodies weightless as the tower's power spirals out of control. In the vortex, reality bends and twists. Kael's vision blurs, his mind flooded with images that aren't his own. Or are they? He sees himself as a child, running through fields of golden wheat under a sunlit sky. Then, just as quickly, he's older, standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind whipping through his hair as he gazes out at an endless horizon. The visions shift again, this time showing him a life of quiet contentment, a home filled with laughter, a family he's never known. But there's another version too, darker and more haunting. In this life, he stands atop the tower, its power coursing through him, his eyes glowing with a cold, unfeeling light. The world bows to his will, but it's a hollow victory, one that leaves him alone and empty. Each vision feels real, as though he's lived it 1,000 times, and the weight of them threatens to overwhelm him. But Kael clings to the present, his mind sharp despite the chaos around him. He knows these are illusions, fragments of what could have been, or what still might be. The tower is testing him, probing his deepest fears and desires, trying to trap him in its web of endless possibilities, but he refuses to be consumed. He focuses on the faces of the explorers around him, their expressions a mix of terror and determination. They're his anchor, his reminder of why he's here. The vortex intensifies, the air crackling with energy as the tower's collapse accelerates. Kael feels a sudden tug, as though the vortex is pulling him in different directions at once. The others are swept away, their forms flickering like shadows in the storm. He reaches out, his voice a desperate cry, but the sound is swallowed by the roar of the collapsing tower. For a moment, he's alone, adrift in a sea of fractured time. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the chaos subsides. The vortex spits him out, his body slamming onto solid ground. He gasps for air, his lungs burning as he struggles to orient himself. The world around him is unfamiliar, a vast, open plain, stretching endlessly in every direction. The sky above is a swirling tapestry of colors, a strange blend of dawn and dusk that defies logic. The air is still, the silence almost deafening after the cacophony of the collapsing tower. Kael rises unsteadily to his feet, his body aching but intact. He looks around, searching for the others, but they're nowhere to be seen. The realization hits him like a punch to the gut. He's alone. The tower's collapse has scattered them across time and space, each one cast adrift in a world that no longer follows the rules they know. The weight of his choices settles heavily on his shoulders. He had hoped to save them, to bring them all out of the tower together. But now, he's left to face this strange new reality alone. As he takes his first steps across the plain, Kael's mind races with questions. Where is he? What has become of the others? And most importantly, what now? The tower may be gone, but its influence lingers, a shadow that clings to him even in this new world. He knows he can't undo the past, but he's determined to make amends, to find a way forward despite the chaos. The path ahead is uncertain, the challenge is greater than ever. But Kael has faced the tower's darkest depths and emerged with his resolve intact. Whatever comes next, he's ready to meet it head on. Kael stirs, his body heavy and his mind foggy, as if waking from a dream too vivid to forget. The first thing he notices is the silence, a deep, almost unnatural stillness that presses against his ears. He blinks, the world coming into focus around him. The towering structure that once loomed over him like a living nightmare now stands inert, its blackened stones cracked and crumbling. The Eldritch Tower, once a beacon of dread and mystery, is now just a ruin, its power extinguished. The air feels lighter, the oppressive weight of its presence gone, leaving only the faint scent of dust and decay. As he sits up, Kael's gaze sweeps the barren landscape. The survivors are scattered, their forms small and distant against the vast expanse of the plain. He calls out, his voice hoarse and trembling, but the sound barely carries. Some of them stir, rising unsteadily to their feet, their faces pale and their eyes hollow. Others remain motionless, their memories fractured by the ordeal, their minds adrift in a sea of confusion. The group that once shared a common purpose now feels like a collection of strangers, bound only by the shared scars of their journey. Kael's heart aches as he watches them, a profound sense of loss settling over him like a shroud. Lyra is gone, her sacrifice a reminder of the cost of their quest. The others who survived are shadows of their former selves, their spirits broken by the tower's relentless trials. He thinks of the choices they made, of the moments when fear and doubt threatened to consume them, and of the courage it took to press on. The tower may have fallen, but its echoes linger in their fractured memories, a haunting reminder of what they endured. Yet, amidst the grief, there's a flicker of something else, a clarity that wasn't there before. Kael realizes that the true mystery of the tower wasn't its power over time or its labyrinthine corridors. It was the choices it forced him to make, the person it revealed him to be. The tower was a mirror, reflecting not just his fears and desires, but his capacity for resilience and sacrifice. It stripped away the layers of who he thought he was, leaving behind a core of strength he didn't know he possessed. As he rises to his feet, Kael feels a sense of purpose solidify within him. The tower's secrets may be lost, but the lessons it taught him remain. He knows now that the greatest mysteries aren't found in ancient ruins or forgotten tomes. They're within us, waiting to be uncovered. The journey through the tower was never just about unlocking its power. It was about discovering the strength to face the unknown, to confront the darkest corners of the soul, and to emerge with a clearer understanding of who we are. The survivors begin to gather, their movements slow and uncertain. Kael steps forward, his voice steady as he speaks. "We've lost much," he says, his words carrying a quiet strength. "But we've also found something we can carry with us, no matter where we go." The others nod, their eyes meeting his with a mixture of gratitude and hope. The road ahead is uncertain, the world beyond the tower, a mystery in its own right. But they face the impossible and live to tell the tale. And as they step away from the ruins, Kael knows that whatever comes next, they'll face it together. The silence of the plain is broken only by the sound of their footsteps, each one a step toward a future they couldn't have imagined. The tower's shadow may linger, but it no longer defines them. They've emerged from its grasp, not as victims, but as survivors, and as something more. The choices they made, the bonds they forged, and the strength they discovered have reshaped them in ways they're only beginning to understand. And as the horizon stretches before them, Kael feels a quiet resolve settle over him. The journey isn't over, it's only just begun. The journey back to Kael's village is long and arduous, each step weighed down by the memories of what he endured. The plains stretch endlessly, their vast emptiness a stark contrast to the suffocating corridors of the Eldritch Tower. As he nears the familiar outskirts of his home, a mix of relief and unease washes over him. The village, once a haven of warmth and familiarity, now feels distant, as though the tower's shadow still clings to him, marking him as something other. The first to notice him are the children, their curious eyes widening as they whisper to one another. Word spreads quickly, and soon the villagers gather, their expressions a mix of awe and apprehension. The elders step forward, their faces stern, their voices heavy with accusation. "You brought the tower's wrath upon us," one says, his tone sharp and unyielding. The sky darkened, the earth trembled. "These are signs of your meddling. You should have left its secrets buried." Their words cut deep, a stark reminder of the fear that has gripped the village in his absence. But not all share this view. Among the crowd, Kael sees faces filled with gratitude, their eyes shining with hope. "You ended the curse," a young woman says, her voice trembling with emotion. "The tower's shadow no longer looms over us. You've given us a chance to live without fear." The conflicting perceptions leave Kael torn, his heart heavy with the weight of their expectations. He knows the truth is far more complicated than hero or villain, but how can he explain the nuances of his journey to those who weren't there? In the days that follow, Kael finds himself caught between two worlds. The elders watch him with suspicion, their distrust a constant reminder of the consequences of his actions. Yet, there are others who seek him out, eager to hear his story, to understand what he faced and what he learned. It's in these moments that Kael begins to see a path forward. He cannot change the past, but he can shape the future not through grand gestures, but through the quiet act of sharing his experiences. With a resolve born of necessity, Kael begins to document his journey. He spends hours each day poring over parchment, his quill scratching out the details of the tower's labyrinth, the trials he faced, the sacrifices made. He writes not just of the physical challenges, but of the emotional and moral ones, the moments of doubt, the weight of responsibility, the choices that defined him. His words are raw and unfiltered, a testament to the complexity of the human spirit in the face of the unknown. As he writes, Kael realizes that his story is more than a cautionary tale. It's a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition, of the allure of power, and the cost of pursuing it. But it's also a testament to resilience, to the strength found in unity, and the courage to confront the darkest parts of oneself. He hopes that his words will serve as a guide for those who come after, a way to preserve the lessons he learned so that others might avoid the same pitfalls. The task is daunting, but Kael finds solace in the act of creation. Each word, each page, is a step toward healing, a way to make sense of the chaos he endured. And as the pile of parchment grows, so too does his understanding of what it means to carry the weight of the past while striving for a better future. The villagers may see him as a hero or a harbinger of doom, but Kael knows the truth lies somewhere in between. His journey is far from over, but for the first time, he feels a sense of purpose that goes beyond the confines of the tower. The story he writes is not just his own. It's a legacy, a beacon for those who dare to dream, and a warning for those who dare to reach too far. The days in the village are quiet now, the kind of stillness that feels heavy rather than peaceful. Kael spends his mornings tending to the small garden behind his home, the repetitive motions of planting and watering, offering a semblance of normalcy. But the nights are different. In the dark, when the world is silent and the weight of his thoughts presses hardest, the tower finds him. Visions creep into his dreams, fractured corridors, shifting walls, and the faces of those he couldn't save. He wakes in a cold sweat, the echoes of the tower's whispers lingering in his mind like a ghost that refuses to leave. At first, he tries to dismiss it as guilt, the natural consequence of a journey that costs so much. But then the anomalies begin. A child, playing near the outskirts of the village, swears she saw her shadow move independently, flickering like a flame before snapping back into place. An elderly farmer claims his crops grew and withered within the span of a single afternoon, their roots twisting unnaturally as though time itself had sped up and slowed down. At first, the villagers brush it off as superstition, but Kael knows better. He's seen this before, the delicate threads of time fraying under the weight of something unnatural. The village elders grow uneasy, their whispers carrying accusations and fear. Some blame Kael, their voices sharp with bitterness. "You brought this upon us," they say, their eyes narrowing as he passes. Others plead with him, their desperation palpable. "You stopped the tower once. Can't you stop this too?" Kael feels the weight of their expectations like a stone in his chest. He wants to leave it all behind, to bury the memories of the tower and live a life untouched by its shadow. But deep down, he knows he can't. The anomalies are a warning, a sign that the tower's influence hasn't been fully extinguished. One evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, Kael makes his decision. He gathers his meager supplies, a journal filled with notes from his journey, a small dagger, and a lantern, and sets out for the edge of the village where the anomalies are most frequent. The air feels different here, charged with an energy that makes his skin prickle. He crouches low, his fingers brushing the ground, and feels a faint vibration, like the hum of a distant machine. The tower's power, though diminished, is still alive, and it's growing stronger. As he investigates further, Kael discovers a series of faint, glowing fissures in the earth, their light pulsing in rhythm with the anomalies. He recognizes the pattern. Immediately, it's the same energy that once flowed through the tower's heart. The realization hits him like a punch to the gut. The tower may have crumbled, but its essence remains, seeping into the world like a poison. If left unchecked, it could unravel the fragile balance of time, not just in the village, but everywhere. Kael's mind races. He could walk away, leave the past behind, and let someone else deal with the fallout. But the faces of those he lost in the tower flash before his eyes. Lyra, the explorers, even the Spectral Guardian, who warned him of the dangers. They didn't fight and perish for him to turn away now. With a deep breath, he steels himself. The tower's shadow may haunt him, but it also taught him how to fight. This time, he won't just face the mystery, he'll end it. The journey ahead is uncertain, the path fraught with dangers he can't yet fathom. But Kael knows one thing for certain: the tower's legacy won't define him. He's more than its prisoner, more than its survivor. He's the one who will ensure its final chapter is written, and this time it will be on his terms. As the first stars appear in the night sky, Kael steps forward, his resolve unshakable. The echoes of the tower may linger, but they won't have the last word. Kael steps beyond the village's edge, the dense wilderness stretching endlessly before him. The air here feels alive, charged with an energy that makes the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. The faint glow of the temporal fissures guides his path, their light pulsing like a heartbeat in the dark. Each step takes him deeper into the unknown, the weight of his mission pressing heavier with every mile. The wilderness is no longer just a backdrop. It's a living, breathing entity, its secrets hidden beneath the rustling leaves and shifting shadows. As he ventures further, the anomalies grow more pronounced. Time seems to warp around him, the days blending into nights, and the nights stretching into what feels like endless twilight. Birdsong echoes from trees that weren't there moments before, and the ground beneath his feet shifts subtly, as though the land itself is alive. It's a disorienting experience, but Kael presses on, his resolve unshaken. He knows the anomalies are a sign, a trail left by the tower's lingering power, and one he can't afford to ignore. Then, in the midst of the wilderness, he stumbles upon a small camp. The travelers gathered there are a motley group, their faces weathered by journeys Kael can only guess at. They eye him warily at first, but something in his demeanor, his haunted yet determined expression, seems to put them at ease. One of them, a woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that glint like steel, steps forward. "You've seen it too, haven't you?" she asks, her voice low and urgent. "The tower, it's back." Kael's breath catches. The words hit him like a blow, a confirmation of his deepest fears. The travelers explain that they've come from a distant land, one untouched by the tower's influence until now. They describe seeing its silhouette rise from the horizon, its blackened stones shimmering with an otherworldly light. But it wasn't the same tower Kael had faced. It was fractured, its form incomplete, as though it had been pieced together from fragments scattered across time and space. The revelation sends a chill through Kael. He realizes now that destroying the tower's heart may not have ended its influence. It may have only scattered its power, dispersing it across the world like seeds carried on the wind. The anomalies he's been tracking are not just remnants of the tower's collapse. They're pieces of its essence, fragments that, if left unchecked, could grow into something far more dangerous. The tower isn't gone. It's waiting, biding its time, and if Kael doesn't act, it could rise again, stronger and more malevolent than before. The weight of this realization settles heavily on his shoulders. His journey, which he had hoped was over, is only just beginning. The travelers offer to join him, their faces filled with a mix of fear and determination. They've seen what the tower is capable of, and they know the stakes. Kael hesitates, torn between the desire to protect them and the knowledge that he can't do this alone. In the end, he agrees. Together, they set out, their path clear, but their destination uncertain. As they move deeper into the wilderness, Kael can't shake the feeling that the tower is watching, its presence a shadow that clings to him no matter how far he runs. The anomalies grow more frequent, their effects more pronounced. Time bends and twists, the world around them shifting in ways that defy logic. It's a constant reminder of the tower's power, a power that Kael knows he must confront once more. But this time, he won't be facing it alone. The travelers at his side are a reminder of the strength found in unity, a strength he'll need if he's to gather the fragments and prevent the tower's return. The road ahead is long, the challenge is greater than ever, but Kael knows one thing for certain. The tower's shadow may linger, but it won't have the last word. The journey is far from over, and with every step, Kael feels a quiet resolve solidify within him. The tower may have scattered its power, but Kael is determined to gather the pieces, not just to destroy them, but to ensure that its legacy is one of warning, not of ruin. And as the group presses on, the wilderness stretching endlessly before them, Kael knows that whatever comes next, he'll face it with the lessons of the past as his guide. The tower's story may not be over, but neither is his. The journey to the distant land is long and arduous, the landscape shifting with each passing mile. Kael feels the weight of every step, his mind a storm of doubt and determination. The horizon is no longer a refuge, it's a harbinger of what lies ahead. As he crests a jagged ridge, the sight before him steals his breath. The tower looms in the distance, its silhouette fractured and incomplete, like a shattered mirror pieced together by an unseen hand. Its blackened stones shimmer faintly, pulsing with an unstable energy that sends ripples through the air. The once familiar structure now feels alien, a distorted echo of its former self. Kael's heart pounds, his stomach twisting with a mix of dread and resolve. The tower isn't just back, it's evolving. At the base of the tower, a makeshift camp has sprung up, its tents and fires a stark contrast to the ominous structure behind them. Kael approaches cautiously, his hand resting on the hilt of his dagger. The camp is alive with activity, its inhabitants a diverse group of adventurers, scholars, and wanderers, each drawn by the tower's mysteries. Their motives are as varied as their backgrounds. Some seek knowledge, others power, and a few are simply chasing the thrill of the unknown. Their faces are a mix of curiosity and wariness, their eyes flicking toward Kael as he steps into the light of the campfires. A man with a weathered face and piercing blue eyes steps forward, his voice calm but commanding. "You've seen it before, haven't you?" he asks, his gaze locking onto Kael's. The tower, you've been inside. The question hangs in the air, heavy with implication. Kael hesitates, his mind racing. He's been here before, standing at the edge of trust, knowing that alliances can be as dangerous as the tower itself. His previous companions, Lyra, the explorers, even the Spectral Guardian, their faces flash in his mind, a reminder of the cost of unity. But he also remembers their strength, the way they stood together against the impossible. The choice before him is clear, yet agonizing. After a moment, Kael nods. "I've been inside," he says, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "And I've seen what it can do." The group leans in, their interest piqued. Kael's words carry the weight of experience, a stark contrast to their theories and rumors. He begins to share his story, his tone measured but filled with quiet urgency. He speaks of the tower's illusions, its malevolent force, and the choices that defined his journey. But he also speaks of hope, of the strength found in unity, the courage to face the unknown, and the resilience to endure. As he speaks, Kael studies the group, their faces a tapestry of emotions. Some are skeptical, their eyes narrowing as they weigh his words. Others are inspired, their expressions softening with a flicker of determination. He knows he can't control their choices, but he can guide them away from the mistakes he made, toward a path that might lead to answers rather than ruin. "This isn't just about the tower," he says, his voice rising with conviction. "It's about who we become in the face of it. We can't let it divide us. We can't let it win." The group falls silent, the crackling of the fire the only sound in the stillness. Then, one by one, they nod, their resolve hardening. Kael feels a flicker of hope, a fragile but undeniable spark. He knows the road ahead is fraught with danger, the tower's power more unpredictable than ever. But for the first time in a long while, he doesn't feel alone. The group may be strangers, their motivations varied and their trust tenuous, but they share a common goal: to confront the tower and uncover its secrets. As the night deepens, Kael takes a moment to step away from the camp, his gaze fixed on the fractured silhouette of the tower. The air hums with its unstable energy, a constant reminder of the stakes. He knows the risks of leading this group, of placing his trust in strangers, but he also knows the cost of isolation, of carrying the burden alone. The tower may test them, but it will also reveal who they are, not just as individuals, but as a collective. And as the first light of dawn touches the horizon, Kael feels a quiet resolve settle over him. The tower's shadow may loom large, but it's no longer unchallenged. Together they'll face it, not just as adventurers, but as allies, and this time they'll write the ending. The group stands at the base of the fractured tower, its jagged silhouette cutting a menacing line against the sky. The air hums with an unstable energy, a palpable tension that makes every breath feel heavier. Kael glances at the adventurers gathered around him, each one a stranger just days ago, now bound by a shared purpose. He knows the risks of entering the tower again, but the stakes are too high to turn back. With a deep breath, he steps forward, the others following in silence. The moment they cross the threshold, the atmosphere shifts. The air grows colder, the light dimmer, and the weight of the tower's presence presses down on them like a living thing. Inside, the corridors are both familiar and alien. The walls pulse faintly, their surfaces etched with glowing symbols that shift and twist as though alive. The floor beneath their feet feels unstable, as though the tower itself is testing their resolve. Kael leads the way, his steps deliberate, his mind racing. He knows the tower's illusions all too well, but this time feels different. The reconstructed tower is more than a labyrinth. It's a living entity, its malevolence sharper, its traps more cunning. Every step forward feels like a gamble, every corner a potential threat. It doesn't take long for the first challenge to arise. The group reaches a chamber filled with mirrors, their surfaces reflecting not their physical forms, but their innermost fears and regrets. One by one, the adventurers falter, their faces pale as they confront the images before them. A man named Eamon freezes, his reflection showing him as an old man, alone and forgotten. A woman named Tessa recoils, her mirror revealing a version of herself, consumed by rage and despair. The tension in the room is palpable, the tower's influence seeping into their minds like a poison. Kael steps forward, his voice steady but urgent. Don't look too long, he warns. The mirrors feed on your doubts. The longer you stare, the harder it is to break free. His words snap some of them out of their trance, but others remain transfixed, their eyes locked on the reflections. Kael knows he can't force them to look away. The choice must be theirs. He turns to Eamon, placing a hand on his shoulder. You're not alone, he says firmly. We're here with you. Don't let the tower take you. The moment is a test of more than just courage, it's a test of trust. Some of the adventurers rally, pulling their comrades away from the mirrors, while others linger, their resolve wavering. The unity that held them together begins to crack under the tower's relentless pressure. Kael feels the weight of leadership like never before. He can't afford to falter, not when the stakes are this high. But as he looks at the faces around him, he sees the toll the tower is taking. Fear and doubt are powerful weapons, and the tower wields them with deadly precision. As they press on, the challenges grow more intense. The corridors twist and shift, leading them in circles, while whispers echo through the air, sowing discord among the group. Accusations fly, tempers flare, and the bonds that once held them together begin to fray. Kael struggles to keep them focused, but even he isn't immune to the tower's influence. Visions of his darker self haunt him, the memory of the crowned figure he saw in the tower's heart, a constant reminder of what he could become. The weight of his choices presses heavily on him, the fear of failure, a shadow he can't escape. Then comes the breaking point. In a chamber filled with swirling, chaotic light, the group is confronted with a choice: press forward into the unknown or retreat and abandon their quest. The debate is fierce, the tension palpable. Some argue that the risks are too great, that the tower's power is beyond their understanding. Others insist that they've come too far to turn back. Kael listens, his mind racing. He knows the decision rests with him, and whatever he chooses will shape their fate. With a deep breath, he steps forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. We're not turning back, he says, his tone firm but not unkind. The tower wants us to doubt, to fear, to give up, but we're stronger than that. Together, we can face whatever comes next. His words are met with silence, the weight of them sinking in. Slowly, the group begins to rally, their resolve hardening, but Kael knows the real test is yet to come. The tower's malevolence is growing stronger, and its influence is far from spent. The choices he makes now, and the unity he fosters, will determine not just their survival, but the fate of the world itself. As they move deeper into the tower, Kael steels himself for the challenges ahead, knowing that the greatest battle may be the one within. The air grows heavy as Kael and the group step into the heart of the reconstructed tower, their footsteps echoing in the vast, cavernous chamber that pulses with an eerie, rhythmic light. The walls here are alive, their surfaces shifting like liquid, the glowing symbols etched into them writhing, as though trying to break free. At the center of the chamber looms a massive, swirling vortex of energy, its chaotic light casting jagged shadows that dance across the floor. This is no ordinary room. It's the nexus of the tower's power, the source of its malevolence. Kael feels the weight of it pressing against him, a force so vast and ancient, it seems to defy comprehension. From the swirling vortex, a voice emerges, a voice that isn't a voice, more like a vibration that resonates in Kael's bones. "You've come far, Kael," it says, its tone dripping with mockery. "But did you truly believe you were acting on your own?" The words hit Kael like a blow, his breath catching as the implications sink in. The voice continues, its cold laughter echoing through the chamber. "Every step you took, every choice you made, you were guided by my hand. You thought you were unraveling my secrets, but you were weaving my return." Kael's mind races, the pieces falling into place with terrifying clarity. The anomalies, the fractured tower, the echoes of its power. It was all part of a greater design. The malevolent force had been using him, manipulating his actions to rebuild itself, to grow stronger. The realization is a knife to his chest, a sharp, painful truth that cuts deeper than any physical wound. He thinks of Lyra, of the explorers, of the countless others who had been consumed by the tower's relentless hunger. Their sacrifices, their struggles, had they all been for nothing? But even as despair threatens to overtake him, Kael feels something else, a quiet, unshakable resolve. He may have been a pawn in the tower's game, but he's not powerless. The voice mocks him, its words a constant reminder of his failures, but Kael tunes it out, his mind focusing on the task at hand. He studies the vortex, its chaotic energy swirling with a rhythm that feels almost alive. He knows what he has to do. The tower's power is tied to him, its essence intertwined with his own. To destroy it, he must sever that connection, and there's only one way to do that. Kael turns to the group, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. "This ends here," he says, his words carrying a quiet strength. "The tower's power is tied to me. If I sever that connection, it will collapse, but it will take me with it." The room falls silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air like a death sentence. The group stares at him, their faces a mix of shock, disbelief, and sorrow. Some protest, their voices rising in desperate pleas, but Kael shakes his head. "There's no other way," he says firmly. "This is the only way to stop it, to ensure it never rises again." The group hesitates, their loyalty and fear warring within them. But Kael doesn't wait for their response. He steps forward, his movements deliberate, his resolve unshakable. The vortex pulses brighter, its light growing more intense as he approaches. The voice grows louder, its tone shifting from mockery to desperation. "You fool," it snarls. "You think this will end me? You'll only make me stronger." But Kael doesn't listen. He reaches out, his hand hovering over the swirling energy. For a moment, he hesitates, his mind flashing with images of what could have been, of a life untouched by the tower, of the people he could have been, of the future he'll never see. But then he steels himself, his resolve hardening. This is his choice, his sacrifice. With a final, steadying breath, Kael plunges his hand into the vortex. The energy surges, a blinding light erupting from the chamber as the connection between Kael and the tower is severed. The walls tremble, the air crackling with a deafening roar as the tower begins to collapse. Kael feels the energy coursing through him, a pain so intense it threatens to consume him, but he holds on, his mind focused on one thing: the end of the tower's reign. The group is forced back, their cries drowned out by the chaos as the chamber disintegrates around them. In the final moments, as the light fades and the tower crumbles into nothingness, Kael feels a strange sense of peace. The weight of his choices, the burden of his journey, it all falls away, leaving only the quiet certainty that he's done what needed to be done. The tower's shadow may linger, but its power is broken, its influence extinguished. And as the last remnants of the chamber dissolve into the void, Kael knows that his sacrifice has given the world a chance to rebuild, to heal, to move forward. The journey may be over, but its legacy will endure, a reminder of the strength found in selflessness and the power of a single choice to change everything. The world breathes again. The air, once heavy with the oppressive weight of the Eldritch Tower's influence, now feels lighter, almost hopeful. The temporal scars left behind by the tower's collapse slowly begin to fade, as though the land itself is healing from the wounds inflicted by centuries of unnatural power. Villages once shrouded in fear now thrive under open skies, their people no longer haunted by the whispers of a malevolent force. The tower is gone, its blackened stones reduced to dust, its power extinguished. But the story of Cael, the man who stood against it, lives on, a legend whispered in quiet gatherings and passed down through generations. In the village where Cael once lived, life has returned to a kind of normalcy. The elders, once wary of his name, now speak of him with a mix of reverence and sorrow. They tell of his bravery, his sacrifice, and the price he paid to ensure their freedom. But it is among the younger generation that his story takes on new life. A young scholar, barely in their teens, discovers a weathered journal hidden in the corner of a dusty library. The pages are filled with Cael's meticulous notes, his reflections on the tower's mysteries, and his warnings about the dangers of unchecked ambition. As the scholar reads, something stirs within them, a spark of curiosity, a hunger to understand the unknown. The scholar, wide-eyed and eager, begins to piece together Cael's journey. They trace his footsteps, visiting the places he described and uncovering fragments of the tower's history. The more they learn, the more they realize that Cael's story is more than just a cautionary tale. It's a map, a guide to the mysteries of time itself. The scholar's fascination grows, their mind racing with questions. What secrets did the tower hold? What forces shaped the world before its rise? And perhaps most importantly, could the tower's influence truly be gone? Or was it merely waiting, dormant, for someone else to uncover its secrets? As the scholar delves deeper, they uncover something unsettling. Hidden within Cael's writings are hints of a greater truth, that the tower's power was never fully destroyed. Its essence, scattered across time and space, lingers still, a whisper in the wind, a flicker in the shadows. The scholar feels a chill run down their spine. The tower's influence, it seems, is not so easily erased. Its story is not over. It's merely paused, waiting for the next chapter to begin. The scholar's discovery sends ripples through the village. Some dismiss it as the ramblings of an overactive imagination, while others grow uneasy, their memories of the tower's horrors still fresh. But for the scholar, the revelation is a call to action. They know that the journey beyond time is not a path walked once and forgotten. It's a cycle, an endless loop of discovery and danger. And as they stand on the edge of this new frontier, they feel the weight of Kael's legacy on their shoulders. The tower may be gone, but its mysteries remain, waiting for someone bold enough to uncover them. In the quiet of the village, under the watchful gaze of the stars, the young scholar closes Kael's journal and gazes out at the horizon. The world feels vast and unknowable, its secrets hidden just beyond the edge of understanding. But in that moment, they feel a sense of purpose, a determination to follow in Kael's footsteps, not out of ambition, but out of a desire to protect the world from the shadows of the past. The cycle begins anew, the wheel of fate turning once more. And as the scholar takes their first steps into the unknown, they can't help but wonder, will they succeed where others have failed, or will they too become another chapter in the tower's endless story? The journey beyond time, it seems, is a path that others will inevitably tread, and the echoes of the Eldritch Tower may never truly be silenced.